What's up, guys? Welcome back to the garage. Gerald here with you. I just went to an advanced screening for A Quiet Place Part 2. I'm back home. I had about a 15-minute car ride to collect my thoughts, and now I'm going to give them to you in this spoiler-free rapid reaction. Silence is not enough. Following the events at home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world. Forced to venture into the unknown, they realize that the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats that lurk beyond the sand path. A Quiet Place 2, obviously the sequel to the wildly successful A Quiet Place, directed by John Krasinski, as is the sequel. Stars Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Millicent Simmons, Noah Jupe. The gang's all back. Guys, I absolutely loved this movie. The sequel to A Quiet Place has done something that very few sequels do, and it is that they have matched their predecessor. A lot of people that follow me regularly will know, but A Quiet Place is easily one of my favorite horror films of the last decade, and A Quiet Place Part 2 is literally on par with the original. I'm not going to say it's better than the original, but it is very, very close. It is literally a 1A, 1B situation. This is a spoiler-free review. I'm just giving you my general thoughts. I won't give any plot spoilers away as you're watching it. But I know a lot of people on Memorial Day weekend are going to venture out to hopefully see A Quiet Place 2. And I think you absolutely should do that immediately. I am a horror fan. I'm a little biased. But I'm just going to tell you right now that the way Krasinski filmed this movie is something to behold. And it's better than the original in that respect. There's a sequence in the film about halfway through where there's three main storylines playing out, and all the characters that are in those individual storylines are connected in some way. But the way that Krasinski builds tension in each individual scene, but then also intercuts so beautifully between them. So we'll be looking at one character and it looks like it's about to be a climactic moment. It'll cut to the next character and they're about to enter into a climactic moment. Then it'll cut to the third character and then it just kind of goes around in a circle like that, kind of intercutting back and forth. This sequence in the film goes on for about 10 minutes or so, and it's done masterfully because the tension builds and builds and builds in each individual scene. So what happens is you're focused on the character that's on screen at that moment, and you're invested in what you're watching, but you're also in the back of your mind going, what's going on with A and B? I'm watching C right now. What's happening with A and B? And then when it goes back to A, you're like, what's happening with B and C? And he does that beautifully. You know, the movie obviously is anchored by Emily Blunt. She's our main character here, our kind of final girl, if you will. I also think Millicent Simmons takes on a more prominent role in A Quiet Place too. She was more of a kind of like shy, timid character in the original, dealing with the tragedy of what happened and the events that what happened with her father. But in this movie, she takes on a much more heroic stance, and she really does help the film in that way. Emily Blunt's not carrying the full load by herself, which is kind of what I expected. So that was great to see Millicent Simmons step into that kind of final girl role. You know, there are a few little qualms about the film, but overall, it's not even worth mentioning because if you are a fan of thrilling cinema, and even as an extension, horror cinema, and even more further than that, like a creature feature type film, you need to see A Quiet Place 2. I'm going to have to stop talking because I really don't want to give anything away for the overall plot of this movie, but I cannot recommend it enough. You should immediately rush out and see A Quiet Place 2 this weekend. One thing I did want to mention is I think it's fitting and almost beautiful in a way that this is the movie, like the wide release movie that's going to possibly garner the most butts and seats in movie theaters. I think the fact that Krasinski was able to spend a little more time with the editing, the score is phenomenal. You know, they had a whole year. This was supposed to come out last March, I think. And then, of course, COVID came, and here we are May, so 14 months later, really. I mentioned that one sequence that I want to use as an example, but he really does a great job at subverting expectations, the opening sequence, the ending climax. It all kind of, you feel like you know what's happening, but at the same time, there are elements of surprise there. So please, because of the craft of the film, The acting in the film, particularly Emily Blunt and Millicent Simmons, who do an amazing job. So does Cillian Murphy. He was a great addition to this movie and gives a really emotional performance in this film, kind of filling that like main male protagonist role. With obviously we know about Krasinski from the original film, but Krasinski is here. He's here behind the camera, and he's also in the opening sequence of the film, which you can see in the trailers. So that's not a lot of spoilers there. But it's a great movie, guys. It's one of the better sequels that I've ever seen. I'm almost 46 years old, and I have seen a lot of movies. And this is probably, I'd have to research, but this is probably like top 10, top 15 sequels of all time. It's definitely one of the better horror sequels I've ever seen, and I can't recommend it enough. So A Quiet Place Part 2, I'm going to go ahead and put my rating on it, a 4.5 out of 5. 4.5 stars. Right there, you see my letterbox on the screen. Make sure you follow me over there. All the information is also down below. Are you going to see A Quiet Place 2 this weekend? Have you seen it? Let me know down in the comments. And please subscribe to my channel. I will be back next time with another rapid review. I'll see you guys next time in the garage.